Hello. Yes, I'm not dead. Not yet. I know some of you are waiting for that. Can't think of any good ideas. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's just nothing original anyway. So I figured talk about a movie that has had my attention for a good little while now. That movie is going to be Kyle Edward Ball's Skinamarink. I sorry, Kyle, your last name was kind of funny. Skinamarink is a horror movie by Kyle Edward Ball. Crazy, imagine. It was released in 2023, and it's about two siblings who wake up in the middle of the night and find that their dad is just missing, and all the doors and windows of the house disappear. Even worse, there seems to be something in there with them, something indescribable. Yay, I got my cringy ass fucking horror movie YouTuber synopsis. This movie is very divisive, and I think that's kind of the point of it. If you're not familiar with uh, analog horror, or if you're someone who just wants something that's a little bit more straightforward, something a little bit more just easy to figure out and latch onto, you're probably gonna hate this movie. But for anyone who's out there like loves the feeling of like Local 58 or Mandela Catalog or anything like that, any of these YouTube series where it's more analog horror and more tension based and more just unnerving, unexplainable, just imagery and like feelings, you're probably gonna love this. Well, I mean, you're gonna like the outcome. I don't know if you're gonna like watching it because it's a lot of tension and a lot of just pain. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a little little thing because I love gimmicks. I love gimmicks. Oh yes. All right. So I've seen this movie about 3 times now. Uh, Once right before it officially came out because I was curious. And then the next time I saw it at the movie theater with a couple friends. And recently, just to get this video made and all that, I figured I'd give it another watch. I was planning on doing it anyway. And each time I've watched it, I've had like a different opinion on like the story and what happens, different ideas and everything. And I don't really have an exact thing nailed down for this, although I do have some ideas, and I've taken some from other people that sounded pretty good. And obviously, it's just kind of how things work. Wendy Goon is a good example. I've watched his video, and he's great. I think most of his theory works out pretty well. But I really don't think this movie wants you to like have a concrete theory. Before I get into this, I want to talk about exactly how the movie was made, how we got to this point. So Kyle Edward Ball is a person who clearly loves horror, specifically horror that feeds on like fear of the unknown, throw in liminal spaces, a lot of analog horror references, that feeling of dread that comes with the feeling of known unknown. All of these kind of make the movie what it is. It kind of just like blends together and like gels. With a budget of around $15,000, Kyle filmed Skinamarink in his childhood home, and got submitted to various film festivals where it landed at Fantasia Fest. It ended up getting leaked, which is probably how a good amount of you found it. It became very popular with like social media and different apps like TikTok and all that. But thankfully, instead of harming the chance of getting the movie out there, it released in theaters, from distribution from Shudder and AMC and all that. And at this point, February 4th is when I'm recording this. It has made around $2 million off of a $15,000 budget. I'm going to do math since I didn't do that before. It has made over 130 times its budget. Obviously, some of that has to go into distribution now afterwards and all this other stuff. But for mostly being a word of mouth movie, that's pretty fucking good. It reminds me of like the Terrifier 2 stuff, where it's like it made $10 million out of 250,000. It's pretty fucking good. And now the movie is on Shudder, where it reaches a hopefully much larger audience. It's a movie that really likes to feed on your patience and willingness to just let it take you places. And those places are kind of familiar, at least to me. Some of them are. It's like a memory from your childhood that's just kind of like fuzzy and faded, a little bit more just lost. It's like it's a grainy mess of darkness that just kind of makes you feel trapped and just lost. And you should feel safe, but you don't. So, with that, before I still get into my theories, I'm almost there. Would I recommend this movie? Not to most people at all. Um, I personally love this movie. I think it's fucking incredible. But the third time watching it, I just liked it even more. But I don't think I can recommend it to a good amount of people. It is very slow. It's not really clear what's going on, and it doesn't like to show what's happening on screen a lot. It'll give you like vague ideas and sounds that you pretty much have to interpret everything yourself. And to some, that might be really irritating. I kind of prefer that in movies, so that's fine by me. If you go in like expecting a movie like The Conjuring or any other traditional horror movie where it's focused more on scares or like traditional scares, I guess, you're probably going to be a little upset or at the very least disappointed. Very, very specific audience, and if you don't fit into that, you're not going to like it. But if you do fit into that audience, you're going to probably fucking love this, or at least really like it, because, man, does it really work with that? I mean, who am I to say? I'm just some fucking person on YouTube who works at a grocery store full time. Give it a chance. If it seems interesting, check it out. Maybe you should check out the short film Heck. It should be on YouTube. That's the proof of concept, essentially, short. It doesn't have a lot of the same stuff that happens towards the end, but it also does kind of have the roots of Skinamarink. And if you like that, then yeah, go ahead, check out the movie. You'll probably like it a lot. I'll put that in the description along with the rest of Kyle's channel, Bite-Sized Nightmares. So now I'm going to get into the theory part of the video, finally. Yay. Kind of spoilers, kind of not, but, you know, bear with me. It's kind of hard to spoil what happens in the movie. Yeah, like I said, I never had the same idea of like what's happening any of the times I watched this. Like some of it's connected, some of it's not. The first time I saw it, I was not really paying attention to the story. I was more paying attention to how it made me feel. It was a lot of tension, a lot of it made me violently uncomfortable. I didn't know what the fuck I was feeling. It was just not right. I loved it, but I couldn't tell you what the fuck happened. I couldn't tell you what I was thinking. Ended up reading some like theories and stuff afterwards, what other people might think, and then as it became more popular, you get to hear other people's theories and all that, and it's interesting. When I watched it in theaters, I took some of that with me and had a better chance to like check out like or pay attention to some parts rather than just feel it. It didn't exactly work because my chest felt so much pressure and I felt like stuck just from the entire time. Something about it being on the bigger screen, the sound being all around you, fuck that. I loved it. So you have this idea that it's about child abuse. I kind of thought everything was about, like, you see everything through the perspective of the kid Kevin after he fell down the stairs at the beginning of the movie. And I kind of took that as, like, we're seeing it from his perspective. Everything's, like, kind of, like, fucked up and warped, head injury and all that. And then the dad was meeting them. And it had all this other stuff happening. I don't really know how to explain that. It was just, like, an idea that I had, and I feel like part of it's on the right track. There's a lot of flaws with that one. I don't know what I was really thinking. But where everything really started to change is my third watch, my most recent one. I realized that the father character was not even really a part of it at all. He was not even a factor, really. The mother character was the part of the movie. That, the real, like, terror part of the movie. You know, the father disappeared after a bit, yet the entire time, towards the beginning, after trying to figure out what's going on, whenever they brought up the mom, is when things went, like, They felt uncomfortable. Specifically, I think it was Kaylee saying, "I don't want to talk about mom," or stuff like that. And you see frequent images of like a female figure there. I'm assuming that has to be the mom. And she talks to the mom, and that's what really, I don't know. It feels like something like that. Whether the mom is the entity or invited an entity, like the Wendigo theory and all that. I feel like I'm. I feel like the idea of Kevin it being like a warped perspective still kind of fits, but instead of the father, it's the mother that is the abusive one in this scenario. I feel like that might be a thing, but I mean, it could also just be the like entity has come into the house from the mom or something like that. It's really hard to say as the movie never really explains itself in like a conventional sense. But I think I really preferred that way. If this movie were to actually explain anything that was going on, I don't think it would be nearly as interesting. I mean, sure, you'd have the main factors of the what makes it scary, like the darkness, the grain, the sound, which it's enough to make its own video about. I'm not gonna do it because I think it's you can just tell. I feel like if there was a concrete reasoning why everything happened, I would be bored out of my mind and just be like, oh, well, that's not really that special. Um, Especially if you can keep it vague, you can attribute your own like fears or traumas or anything to. And I think that's what the selling point is of the movie is so many people finding a different way to relate to the movie from their experience or from their fears or from anything that happened to them. They can bring that in there. Jane Schoen, we're all going to the World's Fair, that director. They brought up a good point where it's like a fear of a parental figure, a fear of getting caught, more like being awake at night, the fear of being caught. Like that's very interesting to me. I think that might be a good uh, point to be at for that. I think yeah, all the real fear is whatever your experience is, and if you can put that into the movie. I really hope Kyle gets a chance to make more movies, more anything at this point now that he's gotten the attention that he's gotten. I think he's a really unique voice, and I'm down to see anything he makes with just kind of mix it up in this kind of world of horror movies that we're still getting stuff like Pray for the Devil, which feels like a movie from 2004. You know, whatever. I just want him to do more, and I just want him to get some good attention because this is interesting, and I haven't seen anything like it before. I want to see more. So yeah, that's it. That's it.